в Україні, відповідно 14:00 у Польщі. Розпочинаємо наш сьогоднішній захід. З радістю бачу вас усіх сьогодні у Зумі. Ми готувалися з польськими колегами. Надзвичайно приємно, що незважаючи на складну ситуацію в Україні, воєнний стан, військові дії, постійні тривоги, ви знайшли час відвідати наш сьогоднішній захід і наше науково-педагогічне стажування спільно з Влоцлавським університетом. З Влоцлавським університетом Центр співпрацює на протязі вже більше ніж 4 років. І, зокрема, пані Joanna, одна з перших з Польщі, почала в перші години війни писати і підтримувати нас та наших колег з Центру українсько-європейського співробітництва, за що ми їй щиро вдячні, в тому числі і в рамках матеріальної підтримки, яка надавалася нашим співвітчизникам. Відповідно, сьогодні ми працюємо в рамках науково-педагогічного стажування. З вами буде працювати одночасно лектори. Дозвольте їх представити. Це пані Joanna Skiba, освічений тренер, фахівець освіти дорослих та дистанційної освіти, відділу міжнародних зв'язків Куявського університету, міста Влоцлавек, Республіка Польща. Та Marcin Miziołek, викладач Куявського університету міста Влоцлавек, Республіка Польща, які будуть протягом найближчого часу з вами спілкуватися. Сьогодні вони побудували свій захід в рамках спільного діалогу. З вашого дозволу надаю слово пані Joanna. Joanna, please speak.
Good afternoon. Great to be able to meet finally, and we know that the situation is standing and unusual, but nevertheless, we are more than happy to be able to meet and discuss the issues that are planned in this internship for the academic teachers in Ukraine. Just a short introduction from my side, as we have already been introduced, but maybe just to recap a few pieces of information for you. I am working together with Dr. Marcin Miziołek, and we have been cooperating on different international projects for many years now. Including many Zoom lectures, as probably some of you have already met us before. I am personally responsible for the adult education and many projects within Erasmus, which have been running at our university, at Kуявського University, and also for the language education, and of course, first of all, the international office and international relations. And Dr. Marcin Miziołek, please Marcin, correct me if I make any mistakes, but I've been trying to follow your professional CV and career, and I know that you are a graduate of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Manchester Metropolitan University, University of Glasgow, where you have done courses in coaching, mentoring, in counseling, and also in many areas related to the psychological areas of education and of life at academic level. Today, the topic is resilience and well-being strategies for successful academic teachers, which we have decided to concentrate on because of the current situation, because it's always been a hot topic to discuss. And I hope it will be practical in many areas and many things, and it will give you information on the development, and it will also be for you, like personal, if we take a personal approach, this topic, and our discussion may be also a good lesson for you as academic teachers to learn from, and I hope it will be very useful and very practical. Well, we're going to start, and we're going to have a dialogue with Marcin. Marcin will be also answering some of my questions, and also, I think, engaging you in the process. So my first question is, what is really resilience, and what are the general characteristics of resilience, Marcin?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us here and for the opportunity which we are given, because I always treat it as an opportunity to share some knowledge, to share some experience, because as we all know, we learn from experience. This is actually been key when it comes to resilience. I will just maybe also try to introduce myself a bit, or maybe just tell you more about the fields which I actually mainly focus on. This is actually psychology, we could say that. I'm also, apart from what you, Joanna, have mentioned, I'm also a psycho-oncologist, I'm a therapist, and I work with trauma. I work with actually, I would say, with all the issues that we can face, that a person can face when it comes to psychological issues, psychological problems, psychological obstacles, and this is actually what I love doing, and I love sharing what means we can use to actually help ourselves, because this is actually what resilience is about. I mean, resilience is being able to adapt to situations. I wanted to say to difficult situations, but they don't have to be difficult. It's just a situation which is changed, which is new, and we are able to adapt to it, where we are able to respond, and all the reactions that reactions, emotions that we feel are also the response of our organism, and this is what actually is important. And when it us to all of you, there is no one golden rule which is actually, sorry, but it appeared that my connection is unstable. Is it okay? Can you hear me? Is it okay, or should I change something? Okay. So the issue is that we all are different. To answer it, who need a plan, who need a plan, who need to follow the plan, and need to have specific ideas, or when fixed. And there are people who are flexible, and it's not a big problem for them if things change, and they can work, they can be spontaneous, they can react quickly and change quickly. So my first question is, and please use the chat box, just if you are a person who needs a plan, please type plan. If you are a person who is spontaneous and actually working without the plan is an option, no plan. Like no plan needed. So plan or no plan, and please type it, whether it's necessary, the plan is necessary, please type plan, and if it's not necessary and you can go along with the flow, no plan. Okay, we've got plan, plan, plan. Okay, okay, got it. Okay, I will also type something. Okay, so, you know, we've got like, okay, there is somebody who also has no plan, and it makes me feel more comfortable that I'm not the only one. But this is one thing. This is one thing, you know, which is very important, that people are different. Actually, in this group, we have the majority who, you know, people who need plan. Yes, so everything should be fixed. It usually means that you check it with yourself. You need some kind of control. Yeah, try to check it with you. If you are a person who needs to have just some control, or maybe a lot of control, I don't know. And then you feel comfortable if you know what people expect from you, demand from you, and that if the rules are set, the boundaries are set, and you know, for example, at work, what is expected of you, then you feel good. Yes, so you need a plan, or actually knowing a form or something is comfortable. There are some people who don't need a plan. There are some people who are flexible, and actually having a plan, because this is the key, that having a plan can be a kind of a problem for them. Because they like to be spontaneous, they want to be flexible, because this is what they are and who they are actually, yes? So in this case, a big change in a situation is not a problem for them. Yes, so in this case, they have the resilience, they are able to adapt to a quickly changing situation. But they need a person, on the other hand, who is able to plan something, to plan a strategy, to plan a way out of something, so that they do not, I don't know, lose themselves in the situation. They are able to do what's necessary, or take the means that are necessary to be able to cope with something. So mainly we have people here, as I said, who need a plan. So I usually assume, because we are also going to talk about the workplace. So in this situation, you need to know as an employee what is expected of you, what the rules are, and what you need to do. Because if you don't know, then maybe you do not feel comfort or comfortably in the workplace, So resilience is about, of course, being able to adapt, but I just wanted to start with sharing with you the main idea that some people are spontaneous. It's not a big deal. Some people prefer it to be planned. And the most important thing at the moment is both are correct. Both options are correct. Both options are proper from the mental, therapists. Both are correct. Just listen to yourself. If you like the plan, go along with the plan. If you want to be spontaneous and you prefer being spontaneous, just try to be spontaneous. Yes. So back to you, Joanna.
Thank you, Marcin. I'm really happy that you said both options are correct, because, well, most of us on the chat, and including me, mentioned we like plan, and going without plan is was not really the first choice. Maybe it's also that we are from the environment of teachers, academic teachers, where planning is like what we do every day, and it's like we have to be in control because we try to be in control of our lives. Sometimes when we feel this control, we feel it's easier. That's what I have, because I will be making some relations to me, because I think it's also easier to open up a little and then to share what I feel as not as an expert, not as a psychologist, but as just as a regular academic teacher. So sometimes I feel this resilience gives us the different mentality. Very often we try to be survivors. So I call it the survival mentality. So every day is a fight. This is the attitude many people have, I guess, that we need to fight, we need to have plans, we need to be in control of many situations, and it's I think it shows that the result is the resilience. We need many skills, like the problem-solving skills, every day to show and to show how strong we are. So I would divide this resilience into three main categories. The physical resilience, which is quite obvious, mental and social. So on those three levels, I think we need to discuss this issue, and I think it can be discussed on the mental, social, physical level of our physical strength and potential. There are many areas which can help build up this this issue. Well, I'm also with one eye looking into the chat, because there are some issues appearing, and we'll be making reference to these. And so you are asking for the PTSD, for some other disorders, so we'll be discussing them during the course of the meeting. So I would say this resilience is also based on emotions, how much, to what extent we are able to regulate our emotions and control them, which is not very, very easy for us, but also the moment of connecting with other people. So facing the brutal reality where we connect with other people on the social level. And we, as we say, sometimes face the music, we face the reality when we have to react in situations, when we have to solve social problems. And for me as a teacher, I think the social resilience is the most important aspect, and sometimes the most difficult one, because well, I'm adaptable and open and tolerant, but sometimes I feel that really connecting with other people is not so easy, because we are all so different, and it's like having control within a group is not easy. But sometimes as teachers we have to be powerful, and we want to be powerful, because it's like sometimes the only way to survive in the classroom, because some teachers feel that the classroom, the academic environment, is the field where we fight with all the emotions, and we fight with ourselves and also with the others. So to sum up, to recap, I guess for me, the resilience is having this survivor mentality. If we have the survival mentality, we are able to face it every day. The second question I have Marcin, is what are the personality traits, the personality features that help in the face of challenges?
I have another question, of course, that has actually come to my head at the moment, and it is also important when we actually connect resilience and personality types and what is different. I'm, seeing like 80 or 90% of people who are planners. Now I'm interested about being an introvert and extrovert, and I will explain how to check it now with you, whether you are an introvert or an extrovert. It means that being an introvert, it's easy for you to regulate yourself, emotions when you are alone. You don't need people that much, let's say. You are able to comprehend everything within your own head, and you deal with it alone. And actually, let's say that a meeting in a group of friends is not something that you really look forward to, and you are rather, a person who is standing in the corner or not talking much. Of course, this is a very basic definition, but I'm trying to show you what you are looking for at the moment. Being an extrovert, it means that actually you need people. When you meet people, then you charge your batteries. When you spend time with people, this is what makes you feel better, more comfortable. You like to chat. Maybe you are a good listener, but actually being an introvert, you can also be a very good listener and have time to listen to somebody and have empathy. But I mean, the difference is whether you charge your batteries when you meet your friends, and you really need friends to exist. You need people at workplace, or you actually are a type of a loner who regulate everything, alone, maybe going to the forest, thinking, and this is the key. So the question is whether you are an intro or extra. This is actually what is enough for you. So please type on the chat box right there what you think. Intro, extra. Of course, it can change, but mainly. Okay. Maybe some more people. Thank you for the answers, which I have already read, but I really encourage you, because this is a nice introspection when you are able to check to meet yourselves, actually. Okay. So as you can see, now it changes. I mean, it varies, We can say it's like 50% extra, 50% intro, and actually it can be like, you can be like 65% extrovert and 35% introvert. You can be more extrovert at work, more introvert at home, because this is also possible, But generally, I think that there are a little bit more here people who are introverts, So I think that this is more like this. And extra, the last one, of course. Alexei, I can see your questions, and I will read them and answer them afterwards. So I just want you to know that I see that, and as Joanna said, we will come back to that later. So this is the key. If you are an introvert, you regulate it with yourself, and this is what I want to show you. Like, try to visualize what I mean by regulating it yourself. It's like, I actually have a coffee with me, but I will use it as an example. I need the mug. So let's imagine your body as a kind of a mug, as a kind of a container, because this is the issue, yes, container. So the number of stressing emotions, events, pressure, sadness, guilt, you put everything in the container. And this is you, imagine you as the container. And this is what varies. This is what resilience is about, that we have different containers. Extroverts have different containers, introverts have different containers, and it is, you know, it is not easy to describe or to measure how big your container is. But the thing that you put in is what you do with it. Because if you keep it, then you try to put more, you know, it's like pouring too much water inside, then it pours out. And it's the same with emotions. You know, you try to hold them. Some people need to go to the forest, as I said, for a walk, and it helps them. Some people need to talk to somebody, like a therapist. I saw also about, you know, the issue about psychologists in Ukraine. You know, in Poland we face also the same problem, that many people need to go to psychologists, but the availability or the number of psychologists is a bit of an issue. So then I tell you, or I already told even some time ago, that you can use a friend just to chat, to say something that bothers you, and then you can regulate yourself. You can let's say ease the stress and the pressure that you can have on yourself. And we have to remember, even, you know, when we are lecturers, teachers, parents, that children are smaller and they have smaller containers. You know, that this is actually, you know, this is our responsibility. Yeah, this is really our responsibility to help our children, to give us something that they are carrying, and then we can contain it and maybe give it to somebody else, but awareness helps us to control it. Joanna said that it's also about being able to control emotions. So children can have a problem with it. So if they can't control it, help them, just listen to them, pay attention, encourage them to talk, and the problem that they are actually, as I said, carrying, it will be easier for them. You can handle the problem of a child, but then your responsibility is to hand it to somebody else, to share it with somebody else. I can tell you what I do when I have some difficulties, because everybody has. Of course, we can say that we don't, but I have very close friends, and even recently something, let's say, painful happened in my life, and I just phoned my friend, and he found time to talk to me on the phone, and it was much easier for me, yeah, then, because I shared. I'm an extrovert type, so this is what I did. Of course, when it comes to personality types as well, again, another big issue is whether you are a person who is more down to earth. Yeah, so everything has to be pragmatic. Everything has to be checked. There have to be researches which confirm that is true or whatever, or whether you use your intuition and you just feel that it's proper. Yeah, so we also have it. It's different, and I like a test, a psychological test. Of course, I will not ask you to do it at the moment, but this is generally about psychological features that we have. I will send you the link in the second, and you can, after the lecture, I really encourage you to take the test, check it. It's a free test, and it will take you like 10 or 15 minutes. It will be in Ukrainian because I found this version. So then you can read the description. You will find this test measures whether you are an introvert, an extrovert, whether you are a planner or spontaneous. And the last issue is assertiveness. And this is important when it comes to mental health, whether you are assertive or turbulent. And you will see it, yeah? So that's actually the link which you have. So please, after our session, after our lecture, please take it, read the description. It really helps us to understand who we are, and then to understand that there are people like us. 16 different types of personalities are over there. So you will be one of the 16, and then you will read it and say, okay, that's me. So it's okay if I'm like that. Yeah. So Joanna, back to you.
Thank you for the link. I guess it's very useful for everyone to get back to some information, also to self-test ourselves, to discover more, and to open our minds to something new. And I think it's good to reflect on that. I also liked, Marcin, the idea of the containers of emotions, especially, but you mentioned those containers within children are smaller. I think we know that because we try to, as adults, we try to protect children, and we are aware of this, but I think it's also something that has to be mentioned, especially now in the turbulent times. When it comes to some other personality traits, which I have found when thinking about our session today, I guess also adaptability, how much, to what extent we are ready to accept something which is changing, because we know that the constant change is the state of our lives. Something's changing every day. And the times are uncertain and turbulent. So to what extent we are ready to accept changes? I think it also helps us to contain those emotions and to control them, and to get over difficult situations in our lives, because those uneasy situations are in fact the everyday reality that we face. I also think that being good communicators, being able to speak out, and this is something which I have learned recently. I can say that I talk about problems, and I face them, and I really discuss them, and I think it helps me a lot when I openly communicate what I want, and to what extent it is important to me. So I need to mark that. When I mark those stages of importance, and I communicate them openly, it also helps me to exist in more common language. I think also the high emotional intelligence, it helps to face challenges. And how we view ourselves. If we view ourselves in a positive way, I think it's also something that, and we have this positive attitude, the can-do attitude. I think it's also helping to face the challenges, to be able to make realistic plans every day, and to stick to them once we make those plans. So I get, as you said about the containers, I think they are all here to contain the adaptability, the possibility to accept the changing environment that we all live in, and it never stops. It's like the feature of our lives, that it never stops. Well, the next question which I have, Marcin, is how to become more resilient.
You know, this is interesting that I'd say that communication is important to become more resilient, but this is from my own experience, and I'll explain why. First of all, we need to learn to communicate with ourselves. Joanna has said high emotional intelligence is important. Yes, but you have to, or we have to, in general, we have to learn how to communicate with ourselves. This is also I would say, an intimate question, so I will not invite you to the chat box. Let's think about our families, let's think about our parents. Was communication, was talking about emotions something that actually took place or not? Were you able to talk about emotions with your parents? Do you talk about emotions with your children? Or is it a kind of a taboo? Because this is what actually I faced when I was a child, that I was able to express all my emotions, but with my parents, we didn't talk about emotions, you know. Then I had to learn to actually talk about emotions, because it was something that I didn't do, because it was the world that I didn't know. I didn't know that you can talk about emotions. I didn't know that I can talk about my needs. I didn't know that I could say how I feel. I mean, I knew what I felt and I could show what I felt, but I didn't talk about it. I didn't communicate. Why I didn't communicate? Because first, I didn't know that I could communicate with my, you know, when you talk to me like that, I feel angry and sad at the same time. You know, I felt something, but I didn't have this emotional intelligence that Joanna told us about. Yes, so this is actually what makes us feel, or actually makes us or helps us actually to go on the path of self-awareness development, or an emotional development. Yes, that we actually learn what we feel. We learn to talk about it, because maybe sometimes we feel ashamed. Maybe some people will say that it's not truth, or you know, it's not proper, or they have different thoughts about it. Okay, so if they have different thoughts about it, then it's okay. These are their thoughts. Yes, but communication, this is actually what helps us. But as I said, first you need to learn to communicate with yourself, because if you don't, you will fail the communication with others. You know, you will not be able to actually convey the message. You will not be able to tell what you feel. And then the biggest emotion that appears, if we are not able to communicate with ourselves, is the fear. You know, we are afraid. We are afraid of other people's opinions. We are afraid that if we make a mistake, everybody will laugh. that they will, you know, point their fingers at us. We are only afraid because actually we don't have the communication with ourselves, and actually we would laugh at us. You know, I don't know if it sounds crazy or not, but we project, you know, we are afraid. These are our fears, so we project that on the world that is around us. Yes, so if we don't want to do it, if we want to be resilient, more able to adapt, first take the path of understanding ourselves, you know, because if you start to understand yourself, if you give you the credit that you can be the way you are, you can accept you the way you are, then even the self-confidence rises, you know, the self-trust, believing in yourself, and self-worth. Because this is also an intimate question, and sometimes I ask it, but you can, you know, also check it with you. What is your self-worth on the scale from 0 to 10? How you feel about yourself, you know, and then you can have this answer, you know. Sometimes, you know, if somebody says 7, then okay, what does this 7 mean to this person? Some people say 3. Some people, you know, I have my practice, you know, I meet my clients, and whether it's coaching or therapy or PTSD treatment, whatever, they have different thoughts, they have different ideas, but they need to communicate with themselves. Some people go like, it's 6, and then I think it's 5. So actually it means that they have a very strong internal critic who, even when they gave themselves 6, this critic said, it's too much. It's just too much for you, yes? And then they said 5, yes? So try to be able to communicate with yourself. This is what therapy actually is about, and therapy helps you to reach and understand that actually we are fragile, but we can make ourselves less fragile. And this is what resilience is about. Joanna?
Thank you. I really like the part you said that we are I think the hardest critics of ourselves. I think we are having somehow the view of ourselves which is not real, and I think fighting with this and somehow overcoming this image that we have in our minds, I think it's part of our success. So I guess those of your clients who seek support and seek therapy and some kind of mentoring or coaching, I guess they are able to get to that moment where they can discover the inner critic in them. And I think especially women have a very strong internal critics. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel in Poland, and I think also in Ukraine, I think that's it may be related to being male or female. I would also like to say and stress that I think becoming more resilient is trying to be able to reframe what is negative, what the negative thoughts that you may have. I will give you an example. Yesterday I was in a taxi in our city in Влоцлавеку, and the taxi driver was this nervous type of guy, and who started complaining about the weather yesterday. And the weather we had yesterday, it was like 25 degrees, sunny, clear, and crisp day. It was just perfect. And he said, well, the sun, I don't like it. And I don't like this, the weather. And I was just like, I started to get into the details of what his thoughts were. And it was like, well, that was the type of guy, the type of the negative guy that you meet, and that you cannot convince to change feelings and emotions. I think he needs to look for some kind of emotional support, but that was just an example. And of course, he didn't ruin my day, but it was like almost happening. So what I do to become more resilient, to become stronger also, I try to focus on what I can really control, what is within my limits, what I can, let's say, I can focus on it, and if I can change it, then I try to change it. If not, then I just let it go, because I don't feel that I need to fight with the impossible things. And also, there are many ways of managing this stress and which result in becoming more resilient, like having some kind of exercise, having effective communication of what Marcin said, communication with ourselves, first of all, and also the therapy, which may help to grow and to communicate with others, and also to understand them, to like them, and to love them. As I can see, one of the questions is on the chat. It's like, quite maybe difficult to relate to it in just one sentence, but I feel that the base is the effective communication and focusing on the positive ways of what we can do. We are going to discuss the strategies of the workplace, the well-being in the workplace, because most of us are academic teachers, and I think all of us are teaching and have contact with others. So what are the strategies for the workplace well-being, Marcin?
This is actually a difficult topic. Strategies for well-being at work. You know, if you are a person like, you know, you've got your own company, maybe you are the only person who works there, it's different. When you have your own company and you employ people, it's different. When you have supervisors, it's different. When you work at the university and there is a person, let's say, above you who actually orders what you need to do, or actually gives you the schedule and you have to work with that, it just varies. It's a very individual, let's say, approach or issue, because as I said, some people like plans, some people don't like it. I will try to explain, try to show you an example, which actually, I will take it out from my life, you know, because I also have a company and employ some people, and I've got an assistant there. As I said, for me, working without a plan, it was okay. She is the type of a plan. I came to the office, I told her in the office, I will come to you 15 minutes, we will have a meeting and we will talk about current issues. I came to her, and she likes to work with me, and actually she told me many times, or we've told each other that we love our cooperation. But then she was nervous. You know, next time I told her that we would have a meeting, and then again she was nervous. Yes, so I thought, what should I do? So I decided to write an email earlier, stating that, for example, it was, let's say, Thursday, and on Monday at 12, we would have a meeting, half an hour. I came there was a meeting, and she was nervous. You know, so again, she's got a plan, but she was nervous. And again, I was trying to find a solution. It was a few years ago, so of course now I understand, it's easier just to ask her. If she's able to communicate with herself, she would tell me, or she would have told me back then, but I didn't ask her, so I actually was trying to find a solution. And next time I wrote an email saying that, for example, it was Tuesday, it doesn't matter. Like next Tuesday at 12, we will have a meeting. I would like to discuss this. 1.1, yes, current contracts. 2, let's say health insurance for the employees. Number 3. So I made like 5 or 6 points. Then I received an answer, and the answer was like, okay, so point number 7 from me, it is this and this and this. I came to the meeting and she was the happiest person in the world because she knew what I wanted. She prepared herself for that, and her well-being or the need of planning was actually met, and that is what made her feel comfortable. So are we then able to talk about, again, one golden rule for the situation of well-being for everybody? No, because people are different. Some people, some extroverts can go out and talk and stand in front of people and say this, that, and encourage people. We've got introverts who even when I, let's say, talk about standing in front of a group of 15 people, sharing something, they can feel stressed. Who is right? Of course, both are right. But this is now the responsibility of the boss, the responsibility of the supervisor to understand that you don't put the introvert in front of the people and tell him to, encourage them or talk to big groups of people. You take the extrovert, yes, and the extrovert probably will actually like it. Of course, he or she can be stressed, no question about it, but it is a different type of stress. Yes, so this is actually, people are different. You have to follow who you are. Never follow who somebody else is. Okay, you can talk, you can communicate, you can check. Okay, I like this, I like that. Okay, if somebody likes potatoes, it doesn't mean that you have to like potatoes. If you like, tomatoes, then like tomatoes, and that's all. So this is actually what we are also trying to talk about. Yes, so find the environment which matches your characteristics. Try to prepare. If you need preparation, ask for preparations. Yeah. If you need a plan and somebody, for example, I can imagine this. It happened with one of my clients that he needed a strict plan, and he was super effective then. Of course, the shortest or the closest to the deadline it was, the more effective he was, because it was his characteristics. Yeah. So when he had like 3 months to do it, okay, I still have 3 months. Yes, but when it was like 5 days to the deadline, then he was, super focused, and he knew what he was responsible for. He did it. So he had a supervisor who said, okay, let's do something. I've got an idea. So what is this idea about? And something. So there was no precise information. They didn't know what to do, and he had some problems with that. So, of course, he solved this issue. He told the boss that he needs to know what he needs to do. It wasn't easy for the boss, but he really wanted the employee to stay there, and the employee wanted to work for his supervisor, so they actually met. It doesn't always happen like that. And so we don't live in the world everything that we want just appears and is like we want it, but try to find something that is actually meeting your needs, I'd say. Yeah. Joanna, back to you.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Marcin, in that area. So, well, when I ask those questions, I never expect a black and white answer. So I know it's somehow somewhere in between. It's like we are all complex human beings. One issue which I would like to discuss myself briefly, because we are kind of running out of time for today, are the tools for the tired teachers. And I will write in the chat the book which I recommend. Just a moment. Sorry. Just a moment. It's Recipes for Tired Teachers, which was published quite a while ago, but I guess you can get it in PDF version online everywhere. And you can go through very practical comments and examples on ideas of getting out of many situations in the classroom. It's very practical. It's full of ideas especially for language teachers, but not only. So it's kind of a classic in the field of language learning and methodology. It's not the latest development, as I said, but it is a lot of energizing activities and also ideas on how to get out of the difficult situations in the classroom. As Marcin said, this is based on communication. This is based on our performance and being open and being able to express ourselves. I guess we should go to some of the points mentioned in the chat, as there was the issue of the PTSD in civilians, and I think the protection of our mental health. And I think, Marcin, back to you.
First of all, I've just read the sentence about the great publication of Viktor Frankl, The Man in Searching the Meaning of Life. I would say that it's a must read. You know, this is a very important book about finding the sense in life, about how it actually changes, and it actually shows that we human beings, we people, we change, our values change, and this is this is also connected with PTSD, because this book actually is mainly based on a traumatic event. The first question was whether it's possible or whether we can find trauma, because PTSD is post-traumatic syndrome disorder among civilians, among people in the. Of course we can. Of course we can. Of course we do find it. I studied it at Glasgow University, and it was stated that trauma is caused by, let's say, every event when there is a danger of us losing our lives. This is traumatic, and then we can develop PTSD. It's difficult to judge what is traumatic for whom. It's extremely difficult. One issue can be traumatic for you, and for the other person, it doesn't have to be traumatic. But the treatment is needed, necessary. it can be supported pharmacologically. So medicine is sometimes needed to help you overcome what you've been overwhelmed by, because sometimes, as I said, the container just can't contain what a person is facing. It's just too much. And the problem is, because I'm just thinking about coming back, Joanna, to your question, you said that sometimes it's different with women, with men, yeah, that there are differences. And of course there are. Cultural differences also show us that it is different. Is it easier sometimes for men or women? We can't say that. There's no, it hasn't been proved that it's easier. Men who often hear boys don't cry, for example, they just contain the sadness, and they can't cry, so they face problems. Yeah, women. So in Poland, this is the main issue. Boys don't cry. Yeah, with women can't be angry. Anger with management with women. This is what I've been working at with lots of women. Because a woman has to be, calm, caretaker. No, a woman doesn't have to be calm and doesn't have to be a caretaker. Only she can sometimes be angry. When she feels the anger, she has to be angry. Is it so? Like, does our society accept it? We have problems with that. Yeah, we have problems with that. Does our society accept flexibility? We have problems with that. Does our society accept crying men? Not really. We are trying to be open, but I think that we are trying is the best option. Yes. So can it cause PTSD? Of course, some event in the past could cause PTSD. Man, women, it doesn't matter. When you feel it, you should do something with it, because if you don't, it will come back to you. It will come back to you, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, because it is like a record which goes on and on and on and on and on. That's why this is our responsibility. Yeah. And just one last thing I'd say. When there is somebody in a relationship, for example, with PTSD, and the other person who doesn't have it, has never faced it, then it can be a problem with understanding. If there is a relationship, for example, sometimes two people want to go on a therapy, but sometimes one person says, it's your fault, you should go. Yeah, and putting the blame on the other. So this is like an exclamation mark should appear. Let's say maybe in your head, okay, if somebody is trying to tell me that something is wrong with me, probably there is something wrong with that person too. So it's not that simple, we just have to be self-aware, develop our consciousness or self-consciousness, and this is important. This is not a subject of PTSD, so I don't want to go into details about it now. But maybe addiction is also not the issue at the moment to go into details, because I would have to state some theses and researches on that. So I think that's all from me at this point.
Thank you very much, Marcin. I would also like to thank our beautiful audience today. As I mentioned at the very beginning, we are honored and happy to be able to talk to you. And I think today's session shows that there are plenty of topics to be discussed. I hope you enjoy listening to the dialogue, the conversation that we have together, me and Marcin, as I think it's the easiest way to get our messages across, to stress what is important. And as I said, there are many, many more issues to be discussed. And I can only say and wish that we will be able to meet again and discuss some other related to psychology, to human brain activities, and also the current situation, because I think we are all human beings and we are all deeply moved by the situation in Ukraine. And I really want to thank you again and hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Щиро дякуємо, пані Joanna, пані Marcin. Щиро дякуємо усім учасникам за вашу активність. Сьогодні наш був надзвичайно активний. Щиро дякуємо пану Олексію Корнієнко, який дуже активно приймає участь у наших заходах. Дякуємо за ваші коментарі. Хочу технічне питання сказати, що до 11 липня ви обов'язково отримаєте на ваші поштові адреси або на нову пошту, яку ви вказали в заявці, ваші сертифікати стажування та, відповідно, збірники тест стажування. Ще раз повторю дату – 11 липня. Всім щиро дякуємо. До наступної зустрічі. Гарного всім вечора.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.